Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker. It is summer, it is hot, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying hot teas. So I've got out some oolong here, ready to go. So here we go. It would be easier with this kind of fluffy, leafy oolong to rake it out with my fingers, but to just kind of get a better, clearer picture of how much I'm putting into my 3-ounce Gaiwan here. That's about a teaspoon, a heaping teaspoon, and I want a pinch more that covers the bottom surface area of my Gaiwan. My water's been brought to a boil as usual, well, just to a low early boil, and has been cooling for about a minute. Let me add this water here kind of slowly, let it swirl around, get all the leaves coated, and make sure they get tucked underneath the surface of the water and don't just float on top. That looks good. Put my lid on, let that steep for a while, and introduce this tea. Got a little bit of water above the rim of the lid there, so that will minimize the air contact and the extent to which the air oxidizes, changes the color, browns the liquor there. So this tea is from Teavivre. This is their OrientalBeauty, or Baihao OrientalBeauty, as it's called. This is a tea that is originally from Taiwan, and that's where they source it. This is from the Hsinchu district, county of Taiwan, which is a common place, and one of the traditional homes of OrientalBeauty. You can get a sample size about like this, 14 grams, which is a good amount. That's you'll be able to taste this. So if you don't taste it, if you don't steep it properly or the way you like the first time, you should have plenty of leaf for second and subsequent, or give it another chance. 14 grams sample, $2. So not too shabby there, not too strenuous on the pocketbook. Let's talk about this tea. This tea is like I said, is an oolong, and it was developed when farmers allowed these insects called leafhoppers to actually chew on the leaf, and that activated the defense systems of the tea leaves, which created a brown. That's where some of the browning takes place. It also, when that happened, the defense mechanism brings out certain enzymes and certain other processes in the leaf that create a distinctive aroma and flavor. And that's what the goal was. So this is a summertime, usually a summertime harvest. You can go on up into, I think I've heard of OrientalBeauty's harvested as late as November. Sometimes there's multiple harvests. I'll say it that way. A lot of the characteristic smells, depending on which grade, they move up from a sweeter, almost like it's being described as Hennessy, VSOP, cognac type smells, moving downwards towards a richer, rich kind of woody type. If you had fresh cut oak or pine logs, lumber, and you kind of steeped some of that sappy, like I said, freshly cut wood, you might get these kind of smells, these kind of tastes, and that's what's coming off here. If I scoop this out, of course, one of the things you want to look at is leaf sets, because one way to do this as a processor is to get some of your more fully mature, darker leaves, and then some silver needles that go along with it. They should be together as a set, say a leaf and a bud type set. You can cut corners, producers can cut corners by putting in a fully brown, dark, richer leaf, and then separate from that, maybe even from a different harvest, pull out some of the silver needles to throw in to give it the right combination of colors. This one, as I'm looking here, I'm looking for sets. In this little scoop full that I have here, and I'll try to pull out a little bit more just to be fair, but most of these are individual leaves, okay? It's harder to find a set, so let me, okay, I take that back. I found one in this scoopful. I found one distinctive, obvious leaf pair. Both of them are darker leaves. Let me quickly kind of glance through. Here's another, 2 leaves and a very small, maybe even, it's hard to tell because it's all wrinkled up, but it may be a small or broken bud. Let me kind of look in here just a little bit more, because we'll be able to find out more from the wet, when I look at the wet leaf as well. But pulling out the majority of these, I would say 80% or so are the individual leaves. I hope that'll fit. Most that's going to fall back in. I'll clean that up later. Smells are nice. Smells are a bit more of a richer, woody type smell, but again, lightly sweet, kind of rich, sappy type of wood. So it's got a nice aroma. But I'm going to move on. I should talk a little bit about leaf size. These are, I will say, smaller leaves. That's so far a good indication. It's not thicker, heavier, bigger, more mature leaves, more coarser leaves, I should say. So that's a good sign. I'm going to go ahead now and pour this and see what becomes of the wet leaf, what we can learn from that. Angle my lid over to the side and pour just like so. Now, the other thing I should note, if you feel that it is too hot and you're trying to get away from hot teas, Taiwan has probably a stronger tradition than other Asian countries and Asian location sources of doing cold brew. In Taiwan, it is not uncommon to have a nice OrientalBeauty, a lightly or greener type of oolong. Put that in your bottle. Add cold water. Put that in the refrigerator, and let that just cold brew overnight. And so then you've got a nice cool drink to enjoy. Now I'm going to move now to my wet leaf here. Now smells have become sweeter. I'm already picking that up already. A nice, rich, kind of sweet red raisin type smells coming off. So that's nice. The woodiness has toned back quite a bit to leave a dominant woody, raisiny type smell there. Okay, let me pull out. If you've ever, you may associate some of these with some black teas type of smells, and that's understandable. There's a lot of oxidation going on with this particular oolong, especially in comparison to some other types of oolongs. I'm kind of poking around here. For example, here's a leaf set, 2 leaves and a bud. That's good. Most of these leaves are individual leaves still, which is what I saw in the dry leaves that I pulled out there. And again, probably 80%, but I am finding several sets here that I'm pulling out. What else do we have here? Let me kind of pull out a leaf or two here. For example, here's a smaller leaf. Some resiliency. It's younger. It's more tender. It's snapped pretty well. It didn't stretch or give too much. But it's not too coarse either. It's not too tough or leathery. So these are younger leaves. These are not the most resilient, not the most delicate, but pretty good overall. Let me see if I can squeeze one more leaf in here. That looks good. Lots rich, deep oxidation. Fairly consistent in color. Some leaves here and there have some of the blotchy. You see a bit of a darker rust red in comparison to a tad lighter of a reddish brown there. Now, I'm going to set that aside and get to my liquor here. Let me kind of hold that up to the light. Deep color there, reddish color. Some people could easily confuse this and say, oh, that looks like a black tea. Give it a smell here. Again, nice, rich, sweet wood type of smells there. Okay, let me give it a taste here. In the cup, nice brightness, not murky, not dull or flat looking. Give it a sip. aftertaste, okay, one, I should say it still carries that that initial layer of a raisiny type sweetness towards the middle, and then towards the back, and moving into the aftertaste. That's when a little bit more of the woody, almost slight wood type of stringency. If you were to smell wood alcohol, there's some of that kind of drying sensation, that kind of drying smell / taste going on here, and it's lighter, it's subtler. This is one of this is got some moderate smoothness to it. It's not the richest, finest, but it's not the harshest either. Off-camera tastings, similar to what I'm experiencing here. I have tasted others that are richer, sweeter, almost slightly watered down honey type of aftertaste and sweetness and thickness and texture. This one's gentler. This one's thinner, but not too thin. Again, not as sweet, but not harsh either. So this one's in the middle range. Giving it a score, I would say this one is in the neighborhood of. This is in the neighborhood of 88. I have to go with what kind of be fair and kind of consistent and stick with what first came to mind, and 88 is what came to mind. Not the most excellent, not the harshest. This is a good middle of the road, if something you want to try. And if you wanted to use more of this leaf in a cold brew type, you would not feel that you are throwing away money. So there's a compromise there that it's worth considering. So come back to Walker Teavivre to find those that are excellent for hot steeping, maybe something you want to experiment with for cold steeping, and other.